Hey guys, welcome back to the 7th video in my Python programming series. Today we're going to be talking about while loops. So in the last video we talked about for loops, and before that we talked a lot about conditions. So it's going to be important to understand those things before we can move on today to this video. So if you haven't seen those videos, go back on my channel and check those out first. Okay, so let's get right into it. Today we're going to be talking about while loops. So let's first of all just put an example down and get the syntax. Okay, so we have while condition, then we are going to do whatever is inside the loop. So it seems simple enough, but they can get fairly complex. So while condition is equal to true. So for example, this condition here, this could be a variable. While that is equal to true, then we are going to do whatever is inside of this loop. So again, we keep talking about conditions. They're very important in Python. We really need to understand them before we can move into more complex topics. Okay, so while condition is equal to true, we're going to do whatever's in this loop. So how does this really work? Well, pretty much what happens is we have the while loop here, we have the condition. So this is true, this means we're going to do this. Now what happens is we actually come back up to the top after we've done this and we say, well, is this condition still true? Well, yes, it is. So that means now we're going to do this again. And we just continuously do this until eventually the condition is equal to false, or we have a keyword appear called break, like this. Now I'll do an example so we can understand this, but this is just the basic syntax. We have while, we have a condition, and then we have a colon followed by an indented block, which will be whatever's going to run. Okay, so let's start off by using a variable. We're going to just call it loop. And we're going to set it equal to true. Now we're going to make our while loop. We're going to say while loop. Now, by just putting a loop here, it defaults to say while loop is equal to false. Putting loop there is the exact same thing as typing this. It's just shorter to put loop instead of doing the equals equals true. Okay, we're going to get some input from the console. So we're going to say name is equal to input. And then I'm just going to put in here insert something. Okay. And then we're going to put an if statement, which we talked about in another video. So if you haven't seen that, go back and check that out. We're going to say if name is equal to stop. Then we are going to break out of the loop by typing break, or we could also do this. We could set the condition equal to false. So we set the variable up here equal to false. Now I know I just typed a lot there, so let's talk about what really is going to happen. So we have our condition. We say while loop is equal to true. Right now we set it equal to true up at the top, so it's going to automatically run at least once. Now we get input from the console and store it in the variable name. Now we have a basic if statement here that pretty much says if name is equal to stop, well then we're going to stop the loop and we're going to break out of it. Otherwise, we're going to keep asking the user to insert something until eventually they type stop. So let's see how this all works. Okay, so insert something, I say 1, 2, 3. It didn't like that. It wants me to insert something again. I say we. Okay, what about hello? This keeps going. Okay, now I'm going to type stop. And you see that the program stops running. Okay, so again, I'll show you that we can do this by just setting the variable equal to false. Same thing again. If I type hi, it keeps going. I type stop, it's going to stop. And then maybe if we get rid of the variable here, we can also just type in the word break, like that. And same thing again. If I type in some random things and then I type stop, it stops. Okay, so pretty much the way that the break keyword works is by simply saying, okay, are we inside any loops right now? It checks whatever loop you're inside. So right now we're inside the while loop, and it says, okay, well this line has now run. So what we're going to do is we're going to get out of the loop. So it pretty much will now start reading from the next blank line in the file, meaning that it's going to get out of this loop and just continue going down the program. Okay, and that's pretty much it for while loops. We can talk a little bit more about why we would use a while loop instead of using a for loop. The reason we might use a while loop is for something like this. So for example, if you want to ask someone to insert a password, so we have password like this, and we'll just change this variable to password, so pass for short. And now maybe we wanted to check, we wanted to say, well, let's just do password because pass is a keyword in Python. I forgot about that. Password. And we want to make sure that the password has, for example, at least one letter in it. Well, we're going to keep asking the user to re-input their password until it meets the certain criteria. So for example, it might have to have one capital, it might have to have one letter in it, it may have to have a few numbers, something like that, right? So we would keep asking the user for a password until they gave it to us correctly. Now the reason we wouldn't use a for loop for this is because a for loop, usually we know how long we want to run the for loop for. That's why we put a number in the range. So for example, we put 10 or we put 12. While as a while loop, we don't know how long we're going to run it for. So for example, someone could get the password first try, like they could put it in correctly with the right criteria, or it could take them 30 tries, right? We don't know how long it's going to take them. Okay, so that's it for today's video. If you liked the video, please like it and subscribe, and I will see you again tomorrow with a new video.